Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hari Om, Swami ji.
Hari Om. All of you know that we come from Anandashram, a spiritual center set up by our revered master Param Pujya Papa Swami Ramdas and Param Pujya Mataji Krishnabai on the 15th May 1931. At the time of inauguration, he made it clear that the ideal of the ashram is universal love and service based upon the vision of divinity in everybody. It is not that a concept, it has to become a reality. So based on the vision of divinity, we cannot but love, we cannot but serve.
Yes.
So how to have this vision of divinity? Drawn from his own experience, he has given us a triune path. Nam, Seva, Dhyan. The ultimate aim of these three triune paths is to remember him. Remember whom? Remember the indwelling reality who is also the all-pervading reality. He has defined that reality as the subtle and mysterious power, and he named it as Ram. So this based upon the vision of divinity means we try our level best to experience the presence of that subtle and mysterious power within, which is the common denominator, common factor in all creation. These are his words. Ramdas has the supreme delight to speak to you today a few words at the inauguration of this holy ashram. This was delivered on 15th May 1931. The ideal which the ashram holds before it is universal love and service based upon a vision of divinity in all beings and creatures of the world. Here, every man, woman or child, to whatever denomination, creed or caste the person may belong, shall have free access. This is a place where every effort will be made to cultivate the spirit of mutual love and service, so that what is realized within its walls may prove as an example for the right conduct of human life in the outside world. The Lord is our help and guide in all matters. May He, with all His bounty, shower His blessings on the great service which this home of love and bliss has undertaken to discharge. So there are three, four points in this message for all of us as devotees, spiritual aspirants. One is, we should be very clear, the goal to be scaled is universal love and service. That means we don't see the otherness. It's a tall order for us at the moment, no doubt about it. Because we all feel separate, from individual to individual. Individual to objects. Individual to situations. But suppose we keep it, that is the destination to be reached. Expanding ourselves from the limited to the unlimited, from me to we, and we to him. This should be very clear. And for that he says, What is needed is the vision of divinity. Divinity means the common factor in all of us, the common denominator in all of us. The moment we identify the common factor, love gets expanded. Even in our own worldly life, we have found many a time, even in a strange country, in a strange circumstances, we find something in common. We immediately develop an affinity with them, the same language or the same dress. Immediately, while in train journey or anywhere. So, the moment the common denominator is identified, we develop an affinity. So, Papa wants all of us to identify this common factor in all of us. And third point is mutual love and service. That will be the outcome of our sadhana. Many of you have family life, professional life, social life. These are the three tires through which we express ourselves. So where we try to bring in this mutual love and service. Harmony at home, harmony at the workplace, harmony with our friends. Mutual love and service. This is another point he touches and kindles. And third one is the Lord is our help and guide in our matters. This word and the vision of divinity can be combined together. And the last one is the home of love and bliss. So these are some of the points which touch and kindle when we go deep, seriously, into the words of Papa. A brief introduction about Papa's life. He was also like ordinary a grihastha, a family man, and he was also involved in the professional field. He had taken a diploma in textile engineering. He got an employment in Chennai for the first time. But for no reason, he will lose that job. Again, he tries for another placement. He gets it. After some time, again he loses that job. In between, pressed by his parents, he married and he got a girl child. Periods of unemployment were more than periods of employment. So he couldn't settle himself anywhere with a normal life pattern. His wife was also sick. And then finally his father-in-law told him to come to Mangalore, and they set up a unit, textile, dyeing saris, dyeing clothes. Initially it was going very well. Later on the decline started. Difference of opinion started. Even his relationship with the father-in-law got strained. Then he came out. Then his brother and he started Vittal Rao company. Ananda Rao was his brother's name. Vittal Rao was Papa's ashram name. Initially it was going up and up. Slowly that also started failing. And then a stage came when he was unable to move ahead because the mounting liabilities were there. So at home there is no peace of mind. In the outer field there is absolutely stress. This was the period through which he was passing. At that time, Mahatma Gandhi happened to visit Mangalore. He was one among the listeners of a big crowd there. And he has written that was the first spiritual touch in his life. Gandhiji was a saint, a realized saint. Somehow the Papa was able to get himself connected to him. Gandhiji was also a great votary of Ram Nam. His Ram was also the universal Ram, not limited to, normally we say, Sri Ramachandra Murthy of Ayodhya. He is also there. Not that Ramachandra Murthy is not there, but there is a universal Ram who is also in Ramachandra Murthy. So when he heard that Ram Nam also from Gandhiji's voice, he got inspired. He switched over to khadi, spinning, and started chanting Ram Ram. Somehow God willed that the name started connecting him to the higher ideal which was in him, and he was getting solace, peace of mind. Along with that, he was also going through various texts. The Light of Asia on Buddha's teachings, New Testament on Jesus' teachings, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Gandhiji's various books, Young India, Ethical Religion, and then serious topics like Yoga Vasishta. So like that, along with chanting, he was also blessed with the right perspective of what that name stands for. So he himself has written later, the ceaseless remembrance of God's name side by side with meditation on the various attributes of the all-loving Ram. It was going on simultaneously. It resulted in making him to recede from the common run of life. And a stage came when he spent about 22 hours out of the 24 hours for chanting. So the withdrawal had already taken place through self-denial, blissfully denying himself, so that he will get more and more mind space for God remembrance. Took to a very simple life, and then God enabled him to have a taste of his presence inside, got stabilized in it, and he knew that he is the great provider. We are talking about that vision of divinity. So this is how he got the vision of divinity. And he knew he is not only the indwelling God within him, but he is also the all-pervading reality outside. So when these were taking place, from 1920 it started. By 1922, he got stabilized in it, and then God prompted him to take to a wandering life, an itinerant life, a parivrajaka life, so as to confirm to himself that God is everywhere. So that is how on 27th December 1922, he set out for this, leaving everything. So on the 27th December, at early morning at 5 o'clock, at that time, for 2 days, his wife and child, Deepak's grandmother, great-grandmother, she and grandmother, she was a child, both of them had gone to somebody's house. So Chandrasekhar Rao has written, God also conspired, made arrangements for him so that he can smoothly go out. The wonderful part of his sadhana is he has got this regular communication channel with the indwelling reality. Now from the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram had lifted up his slave to throw him into the extensive ocean of a universal life. But to swim in the wide ocean, Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. So one night, while engaged in drinking in the sweetness of his name, Ramdas was made to think in the following strain: O Ram, when thy slave finds thee at once so powerful and so loving, and that he who trusts thee can be sure of peace and happiness, why should he not throw himself entirely on thy mercy, which can be only possible by giving up everything he called mine? This is something on which we have to keep on pondering, delving deep. Thou art all in all to thy slave. Thou art the sole protector in the world. Men are deluded when they declare, I do this, I do that, this is mine, that is mine. All, O Ram, is thine. All things are done by thee alone. Thy slave's one prayer to thee is to take him under thy complete guidance and remove his I-ness. This particular para we have to keep on. What is preventing us to feel the presence of divinity in everybody is this me and mine. The sense of individuality stands just like this screen. We are not aware of what is behind this, So unless we remove the screen, we cannot. This screen is called the me and mine. So we are unaware of the presence of Ram inside, the subtle and mysterious power, but without which nobody can exist. We are now looking at it because he is within us. We are hearing, we are feeling that we are sitting here. The beingness, the sense of beingness, the life force which activates all our sense organs to perceive and to act, the one which is behind our mind intellect. So to him he was at. So the me and mine is the curtain which makes us unaware of his presence. He became aware and he removed the curtain. So this prayer was heard. Then at 5 o'clock in the morning, he bade farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction and in which he could find nothing to call his own. The body, the mind, the soul, all were laid at the feet of Ram, the eternal being, full of love, full of mercy. So today we thought, what is to be shared? So recently, during the last December, he prompted us to observe the centenary of his sannyas. So one full year was set apart for the in-depth study of his first book, which contained the entire details of his yatra. Initially, we all thought he had shared his experience. The in-depth study revealed to us that it is not to be taken as a narrative of a spiritual aspirant or a transition from Vittal Rao to Swami Ramdas. It is a life manual for all of us. With that perspective, which also he gave, we started going through chapter by chapter. And then we found that it is a journey from stress to serenity. The first chapter, first few words, he said, The life was full of stress. Where is peace? Where is happiness? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. And the last line of the 37th chapter is Ramdas now leads a serene life, thinking of, meditating on, and writing on Ram, who is love, who is mercy. So we connected up these two. So from stress to serenity. All of us are going through various challenges in our life. Ups and downs are there. Never it has been a straight line. So when we are subjected to go through that stressful period, we need some cushioning. We need some prop, some support. And here Papa offers us in the form of this book, In Quest of God. Due to paucity of time, we cannot go through it in detail. So during that period, December, and we also were prompted to bring out some boats. It will give us an overall idea, but at the same time, every board has got a quotation of Papa. That if we try to align itself with that, we will find somewhere, the fusion takes place. Not all. And that will trigger a series of processes in our mind, which will give us some solace, some support. We get assured. So we will just try to go through, though not the whole thing, a few at least. First, Vittal Rao, as beloved Papa Swami Ramdas was known before embracing sannyas, was struggling in a whirlpool of worldly life until he was lifted up by the indwelling infinite power. He felt that he was called by the divine to leave his cocooned life of severe limits and fling himself into the vast open sky of limitless infinity. This was his first long journey as a mendicant, traversing from deep south to the far north, entirely relying on the indwelling reality. Every day, every step, every breath. The route map of Papa's journey from here to the deep south to the north. Papa Swami Ramdas's endless struggles in his mundane life, resulting in utter helplessness, led his advent into the world as a mendicant. He heard the inner voice of God. It was like a plank thrown towards a man struggling for very life in the stormy waves of a raging sea. On 27th December 1922, at 5 o'clock in the morning, he left Mangalore by train, by bidding farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction and in which he could find nothing to call his own. The body, the mind, the soul, all were laid at the feet of God. Papa says, a seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices set up a thick wall on his path. He should fling himself into the infinite life. When he said, he could find nothing to call his own. Here, a little pondering will help us to understand the real meaning of it. It is not dispossessing something. He became aware of the source from which the sense of individuality has emerged. All of us know that we owe our origin to our parents. But later on, we find that our parents also have got parents. They also have got parents. So they can't be the first source. the first seed. Our intellect cannot reach beyond 2 or 3 generations. So here we go to the Shastras and find that Almighty Lord of the universe, He says in Bhagavad Gita that I am the eternal seed of everything. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. So our life has been given to us by God Himself. Later on we find, if He is the seed of all creation, He has mentioned in 7 or 8 slokas in Bhagavad Gita, that behind the moving and the non-moving, He is the source. Suddenly we might feel, as human beings, why are we separate? Then we try and to think that for parents, they may have children, but all of them are not the same. So then again Shastras help us to know that it is because of the various vasanas which we have brought it from our previous birth that our body, mind, intellect has been shaped and it is functioning. So the life has been given to us by God. This body, mind, intellect complex has been given to us by our previous birth, previous vasanas carried over. And when we were in the mother's womb, the same energy, the same life force which God gave us was responsible for the development of 200 and odd organs with which now we function as individual. The present me and mine had no role. And then when we came out, everything has been provided to us by Mother Nature and society. Society means God prompted His creation, human beings, to bring out, to discover, to invent, to innovate various creature comforts. He has been doing it even today. He is bringing out through His selected instruments so that we can have our basic requirements are met with Mother Nature. Air to breathe, water to drink, earth to exist, space to move about, the 98.4 degree to keep us alive, sun, rains, metals, minerals, gases, trees, fruits, vegetables, pulses. Like that, everything has been provided through Mother Nature. All other things are provided by society in the form of creature. So when I come to realize, that is why He said the me and mine. Me and mine was arrogating, asserting that it is mine. So when he realized everything is provided by Him, that is why He added the word. Bidding farewell to a word, he had lost attraction which he could find nothing to call his own. Everything is God's. And then he left. So he says, a seeker's likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices, that set up a thick wall on his path. It makes us unaware of the great provider who has been providing right from the seed stage to this today. So he should fling himself into the infinite life. Okay. So from Mangalore he started. Passing through Erode and Trichy, Papa was guided to the banks of Kaveri, where he renounced all that he was holding dearly, including his name. For him, sannyas was like being lifted by the divine from the narrow pond of a worldly life, thrown into the extensive ocean of universal life. There he took 3 vows. First vow said, henceforth this life will be consecrated to the meditation and service of Ram. Meditation to live, to go inward and dwell in His remembrance. And service of Ram means, to look at anything and everything as a manifestation of Ram and serve. So sense of individuality has been given to us by Him to love and serve His creation. To us, we suddenly realize that our sense of possession prohibits us from, denies us from realizing the indwelling reality who is within. So our real mission should be to, through family life, professional life and social life, we try to serve him. So when you are prompted to take to a grihastha life, he gives you an opportunity to first try in a small circle. And then when he takes you to the field of profession, the field gets widened. And there also we try to bring in, by serving with the potentiality he has given to us, capabilities, faculties he has given to us. During our student days in our field of education, he touched and kindled all that is given to us. And that is why we step into the field of profession, to make it expressive, so that all our action ultimately goes to the welfare of everybody, whether we know it or not. When the person who conceived the tabla, the harmony, the language, just think. Ultimately, he prompted somebody to bring it out in the form of that instrument after so many trial and error methods. And then finally, when he brought it out, who is the beneficiary? Like that in every profession, whether we work in a company or not, ultimately we are unknowingly reaching out to many. Papa knew this. We don't know this. All were laid at the feet of Ram. So sannyas. So that is why he made this vow. And second was, he will treat every woman as mother. And the third one was, he will purely live upon the alms. God provides, that's all. And then from there he moved to Rameshwaram Dhanushkodi. Throwing himself entirely at the feet of God, Papa travelled wherever he was guided to, with an empty pocket, just 2 clothes and a few books, all his possession in the world. Hurdles did not hold him back. He managed to find something positive in every experience. Where others found prickly thorns, he saw fragrant roses. Another powerful message for all of us. Optimism leads you Godward, while pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. Through one of his incidents, for example, we may not be able to go in detail. He was going toward this Rameshwaram in the train with a Sadhuram, another person. Ticketless traveler. He is not having anything. So the ticket inspector checked up, and when found, he asked them to get down at a station. Papa blissfully, joyfully, got down. The other man was complaining. We have to walk 6 miles. Why should he make us to get down? Does he not know that we are sadhus? We don't carry money. And he was grumbling and complaining. Papa said, normally, pilgrims are to be done on foot. Here he has been kind enough to take us up to this. And we have only to walk 6 miles. See the difference? 6 miles to go. One aspect. Only 6 miles to go. Optimism. So whenever we are confronted with various, we used to label it as adverse circumstances, negative circumstances. Papa wants us to transform it into a positive one. That's why he says, optimism leads you Godward, while pessimism pushes you down into the morass of skepticism, despair, and woe. Madurai. As his one and only guide and guardian led him further, he saw many wonders of art and architecture. But behind every carved stone, beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. Every towering structure showed him the splendorous glory of the Creator. Day before yesterday, Radhu took us to the Swaminarayan temple. You must have visited.
Yes, beautiful.
Our visit and Papa's visit, we are trying to understand. We say beautiful, we say, But he saw the signature of God. God stands for creativity. And that creative power has become expressive in the form of that beautiful structure. Every place, everywhere. How potential a person is. It gives us hope. It is lying dormant in us. Some way we should try to kindle, bring it out. And we are seeing it. It does not just come from the sky. He made Pramukh Swami or some realized souls to know that the potentiality is there. And we people, when we visit that, we see the creativity and also the potentiality. Not only that, to bring it out, what all things necessary? A right concept first, identify the material for it, perseverance, patience, vigilance, attentiveness. See, we have done up to one pillar, no? Almost it is over. But suppose in the last phase, suppose our chisel doesn't work and there is a damage, the whole thing has to be replaced. One visit to the temple gives us touches so many aspects, so many facets of human progress. Right from getting a concept and then up to the final stage, what all things one has to go through. So when Papa went to Madurai temple, Meenakshi temple, it is a class by itself. Even today, when you happen to go to India, try to visit that. So he was seeing, a beautiful world. Beneath every masterpiece, he found the signature of his master. So we try to see as an object, we appreciate at the objective level, but he saw at the subjective level. So he says, everywhere you try to see the signature. And why are you prompted to go and visit? To make yourself know the various processes by which the end product comes by itself. And it stands there as a perennial inspiration for the innumerable devotees, innumerable visitors. They may not have all these ideas, but it touches and kindles. And when we come in contact with a spiritual preceptor, these ideas start coming in. Otherwise, we will also appreciate. Beautiful, wonderful. But when we are in touch with a spiritual preceptor, he brings out all these one by one. And it has not come from the sky. It has come through a team of set of dedicated people. Dedication. Suppose you start listing out what all, suppose you sit there and look at it and you start listing out from an ordinary marble, from an ordinary granite, how it has come to this shape, what all the processes involved, where from it came. It all came from the human mind. So that means creativity, He gives this through this wonderful quotation. Be the light unto yourself, and in your own original way, It's a wonderful word. Manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative. Set free the infinite power that is within you. That is why we said, it is a life manual. It is not the narrative of Vittal Rao to Swami Ramdas. He places before us a wonderful manual for us. When we go through with that perspective, each chapter gives us some clue, some hints. Each we persevere it, it will be helpful in all our activities. It enters into us. This particular one, again you go through that. Be the light unto yourself, and in your own original way manifest the magnificence and power of your enlightened life. Be highly creative, set free the infinite power that is within you. Then we move to Chidambaram. These are all places in South India. His path was often paved with hurdles, but with no grumbling or complaint. He went to the Chidambaram temple. He was stopped because 4 annas, on those days, rupees, annas, pies, that was the currency, coin. So 4 annas, how to translate, I don't know.
What?
192 paise, 16 annas make 1 rupee. 16 annas. So 1/4 of that 4 annas. 4 annas was the admission fee then. He did not have any money. So he was denied entry. Normally, what would be our reaction? But he took it sportively. Ram. And he went, had his bath somewhere, and he sat there with no food. Then somebody comes to him and asked him, "Have you had your food, Maharaj?" He said, "No, you are reminding me." And then plantains, he said, "Would prefer it." Then this person took him, paid the admission fee, and he was round. And when he came back, he asked him how you were prompted to take Ramdas inside. He said, "I had come as a visitor, but somehow I was prompted from within to take you with him." This is how things. Now let us see what he says. His path was often paved with hurdles, but with no grumbling and mumbling, he went on, embracing every situation cheerfully. At unexpected corners, he found the generous providence of God. He did exactly as he was prompted to. At the same time, whenever things did not happen as expected, this is the clue for us. He took even the non-fulfillment as his will and wish. So Papa says, life must flow spontaneously like a river. Whatever act you do will in this condition be utterly divine. Don't have any misgivings or doubts. Push on until the great truth within you reveals itself in all its glory through every part of your being. Life must flow spontaneously like a river. Whatever act you do will, in this condition, be utterly divine. Don't have any misgivings or doubts. Push on until the great truth within you reveals itself in all its glory through every part of your being. In other words, through that incident, when he left it to him, God arranged everything. He brought that person into the picture. So he is telling us, whenever we are subjected to go through, we must have that mental state to leave everything to him. And he in his own way will find, mysteriously, whether our desire gets fulfilled or non-fulfilled, both he takes it as his wish. From there he goes to Tirupapaliyur. Surprises awaited him everywhere. Strangers become friends. Those who misjudged his attire and appearance and called him names later came to realize his worth and became admiring benefactors. In unfriendly encounters, he would never react on impulse. Eventually, they turned out to be benevolent experiences. Two young people, they were traveling in the same compartment. Seeing Papa, they made some comments in English. adverse comments in English, thinking that the sadhu will not know English. As soon as he heard, instead of getting annoyed, he thanked them for their frank statement. And then what happened? There was a spontaneous transformation of these two people. Not only they apologized, they became friends. He gives us a clue. Do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Do not be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with it. Take the whole world game for what it is worth. So at no time the negative things come, no? The mind immediately in our case jumps with our rights and wrongs, and we want to assert our rights and make themselves know that our right is supreme. But through that incident, he gives equal. God is there. And for some purpose, he makes them to comment like that. And the result, when he knows that, he was loving equally, in total disregard to what had happened or what they had uttered. And from there, he goes to the next. God proposes, God disposes. That is how the old saying meant for Swami Ramdas. Since he always believed that God is the guide, unfulfilled outcomes did not lead him to despair or disappointment. Like a feather drifting in the breeze, he wandered along without any resistance or reluctance. Human life is rich with gifts which God has poured into it, for God himself is at the source of all lives in the world. Through this, any adverse circumstances becomes positive. Even adverse circumstances, we come to realize, it strengthens our forbearing capacity. Had it not been given, we will not know the strength which is within us. During various incidents in quest of God, we will find this. With all the comforts we are living, it may be difficult for us to conceive that. But when we are put in or cornered or placed in such a circumstances, mysteriously we find factors that make us to absorb the shock. Here the assurance comes, human life is rich with gifts which God has poured into it. In order to know that he has poured into us the rich gifts, we have to pass through trying moments, trying circumstances. Initially we may become little upset. We may get shaken. But we find that the needed strength to bear it and the needed strength to cross over it, the needed strength to transform that situation into a positive one is not coming from outside, it is inside. Of course, that we will come to know only when we meet a spiritual preceptor. From nobody else it can guide. So he says, do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. Do not be attached to it, nor be in any way identified with. Take the whole world game for what it is worth. Even this will pass away. Even this will pass away. The incident is, he walked about 20 miles. You can just imagine. He started the journey at 5 early in the morning, and he reached that place called Pondicherry, which was then the territory of French government. To have the darshan of Sri Aurobindo, a great master. So when he reached there by 1 o'clock or something like that, he said afternoon. He was told that he cannot have the darshan of the saint because he is in retirement, they say, in solitude for 1 year. He is asked whether he can have his darshan at least. No, he will not come out. You can just imagine, morning with no food, with no chapel, in the hot summer, he walks, and then with no food, and he was told, you cannot have. He accepted the situation, God's will. Then suddenly a policeman comes and says, you have to go to the police station. So Sadhu Ram was accompanying him. He got frightened. But anyhow, they went there. The police inspector asked something in French. Papa replied in English. The policeman tried to interpret, and then he got offended. The police inspector got offended. He felt offended. We don't know how. Papa only was telling that they have come all the way to have the darshan and they couldn't meet. So he said he's not obeying. That's why he got offended. He said, you have to leave in 2 hours. And when again it was pleaded, it was reduced to 1 hour. Then he started, through his body language, he made know that he will take them into task if they don't do it. So the Sadhu Ram got frightened. He said, we will move. And immediately after they came out of the station, the Sadhu Ram started bringing out all his abusive language on the peculiar behavior of the sub-inspector. Papa said, don't do that. Don't express like that. It is all the wish of Ram. And then Papa said, when he exhausted all his vocabulary, he stopped. And finally he added one more word. It was a test whether Ramdas joins. So do not forget that you live and move in a world which is really a passing show. He was able to take everything as a passing show, so that his identification is not there, so that the rights and wrongs do not come before him and does not depress him or elate him. He was having that balance. This is the 11th one. Let us see. So Papa's travels took him to diverse experience, from meandering through crowded streets to meditating in a cave for a month in full solitude. He felt God's living presence in every breath. Every creature around the cave reminded him of his providence. His fellowship with nature was so close that even squirrels would come to eat from his hand without any fear. Prayer and meditation. This is the clue for all of us. Prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God, that His grace may fill you and transform your life into His very image. Here the clue is, unless and until we try to we make some effort to feel His presence inside first, we will not be able to see Him outside if we don't try to feel His presence inside first. For that we have to recede into ourselves. Because when we are hard pressed by our preoccupations of various activities outside, we will not be able to feel His presence. So we have to set up a time and a place. Even in our own home we can do it. Suppose Saturday, Sunday are your holidays. In our house we set apart a room. We spend about 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour or 1 hour, whichever is comfortable for us. And we take to some discipline by which we try to understand, now that we have intellectually understood that He is the life force who is behind us, who is now behind this curtain, He is there. And then He is making our all sense organs active. So we are trying to go to His source. The heart beats not because we are doing anything. The breathing goes not because we are doing anything. The digestion takes place not because we are doing anything. The blood circulates not because we are doing anything. There are so many such activities that are going on where the me and mine has no role. But if it stops, the me and mine does not exist. So we try to go within to find out how does my heart beat. So when the mind tries to take us out, Papa has given this chanting. Chanting puts a fence and arrests the outgoing tendencies of the mind. And then when we try to go to the source, that's why he says, prayer and meditation open up a channel of communication with God, so that His grace may fill you and transform your life into His very image. We are trying to feel His presence inside. Whether at home or in the office or with friends, we are projecting ourselves as a sense of individuality. But behind this sense of individuality is that power. Bereft of that power, the sense of individuality does not exist. To know that, we have to set apart some time. So prayer and meditation. Then from there we move to Tirupati. Here also, he was subjected to go through an adverse circumstances. He climbed up 700 steps. It was extreme winter. And it was, shivering. When he reached there, it must have been about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night. Many sadhus had assembled there and they had lit the fire to make their body warm, to keep their body warm. But at a particular time, the temple watchman came and asked all of them to go out, because at the time for him to close the door. So they were exposed to the extreme cold and wind. You can just imagine, they have nothing to cover. So he says, at that time, he did not take it as a negative or a devastating or a chaotic atmosphere, but he took it, God wants him to spend more and more time on his remembrance. A very tall order for us, no doubt. But here he gives us the clue. So when pushed to this thing, we try to remember him who is within us, to give us the strength and courage to bear a very ordeal bravely. Repetition of Ram Nam simultaneously with meditation on the great ideal. This word is very important. Simultaneously with, not merely chanting Ram Nam, is perfectly right. But the remembrance must flow in the mind without break, like the stream of oil poured from one vessel into another. So like that he goes, and in one place he was asked, why are you going? By the ticket inspector. You say God is everywhere. He said, I am in quest of God. Why this trip? In quest of God. You say God is everywhere, then what is the need for you? Where is the need for you to go out? Papa answers, to get himself stabilized that he is everywhere, he has been asked to go out. What is the whole purpose of this journey? Papa once encountered this question. He had no doubt or resistance, in quest of God. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted that to experience the same. Otherwise it becomes academic, it becomes intellectual. It should become an experience. It was clear to him that God is everywhere, but he wanted to experience the same, and he felt this wherever he went, whoever he met. To him, all signs and signals lead to one direction, to God. Turn your mind day by day toward the immortal source of your life, God. Let your actions flow like a gentle stream, singing the melodious songs of divine service. Behold your beloved everywhere. The clue for us is, every day we are exposed to the world outside. So every time we have to hammer, before we leave for office, before we get into our household activities, suppose we keep on reminding this. He is there before me as individuals. He is there before me as things, objects. I should be able to handle it with a touch of love, with a touch of perfection, with a touch of dedication, with a touch of gratitude. Then I don't have to go anywhere. I am not seeing him only in the puja room. I am not looking only at the image or the photo. I am trying to see him everywhere. We don't have to take a trip like him to go outside. The whole thing is paraded before us. All that we need is to see the signature of God everywhere. Right from our brush, the tap, in the wash basin, the commode, the heater, the oven, the vessels, the food articles, all the requisites that make our life comfortable, everywhere, we try to see the finger of God. That's why he says, turn your mind day by day toward the immortal source of your life and source of everything. Somewhere in the mind, we keep on doing it. While chanting Ram Nam, he has also prescribed mental chanting would be far more effective. So when we go out, if the mental chanting we get trained, it will remind us of everything. Though we see it as an objective from the outer level, there is an inner effort to see him, the finger of God in everything. And then from there to Basavada. During his travels, Papa was fortunate enough to receive the services of many kind-hearted people who followed the dictates of their conscience. In one station, he was asked to get down because he was a ticketless traveler. The ticket inspector was right, he cannot allow. But the railway protection force, police, one policeman came and saw Papa was asked to get down. He went and pleaded to this policeman went and pleaded to the station master that you cannot expect them to carry tickets because they have no personal listing. So he said, you cannot do that. You are here to ensure that no ticketless traveler travels, and you are pleading. It is against your own duty. And he came there, no use of telling them, he told Papa and the other man to get in. They got, they shock. A policeman who is supposed to discourage all ticketless travelers to travel, knowingly push them in, knowing that they don't have tickets. So they came and told him. And the word he used. In such cases, they threatened. They said you will be taken to task. And he says, even if I lose the job, doesn't matter. These people, no power in the earth can prevent them from going. And in all these, we are guided by the conscience, the dictates of the conscience. That's a wonderful clue for us. When we were reading it, we should not break law. Statute is for an orderly life. But there may be some moments when we may have to do it, but it should be done openly and we should be able to face the consequence. Because without law and order, no society can sustain. So he said, even if I am dismissed, it's all right. So one should be able to do it openly, one should be able to face the consequence. So he says, let your service be done in a spirit of spontaneous love, which is by itself a great balm and source of unlimited joy and peace. True service lies in your not being conscious of having done anything for anybody while you are busily engaged in relieving the pains and sorrows of people around you. Wonderful clue for all of us. Jagannath Puri. Reaching the ancient seaside temple, frequented by millions of fervent pilgrims, Papa felt a deep emotional connect. Papa's devotion to the divine knows no bounds, both in his abstract or the nirguna aspect and his local personalized saguna aspect. The clue is, we may feel that the indwelling reality, the life force, the awareness or consciousness absolute, the intelligence absolute, the creativity absolute, love, compassion, all these have no forms. So God is an impersonal reality. At the same time, we are all habituated to go to temples, idol worship, deity worship. We go to ashrams, we see Mahatmas, we revere them. That is Saguna worship. So through this chapter, he is not belittling the importance of Saguna worship. Provided we have the right perspective. Through the deity, we get connected to the impersonal. And when the love or devotion to the deity becomes so strong, so perfect, in a mysterious way, that power works. He had no access to the sanctum sanctorum, very big crowd. Somehow, God prompted him to pray, ruled out, his darshan of this deity is ruled out. Suddenly, one person comes from nowhere, holds his hand, pushes him inward. Somehow, he finds way and then takes him and places him exactly before the sanctum sanctorum. Papa was in ecstasy. After a few moments, he was taken back. And he asked him, why did you? Only Jagannath knows. The deity of Puri temple is named as Jagannath. Jagannath means he is the Lord of the universe. Mysterious. So through this, and we suddenly remember many Bhaktotamas who have scaled the heights through deity worship. But to them it was 24/7, whether it was Purandradas, whether it is Tyaga Brahmam, whether it is Merabai, whether it is Namdev, whether it is Tukaram. Suddenly we find, through that also. But it was exclusive. Not like us. When we go to the temple, some devotion, some sentiments well up in our heart, emotion, positive devotional sentiments well up, devotional emotion swell up. And when the moment we step out, we are back to square one. The me and mine comes, To them it was 24/7. So all these things touch and kindle in us. So we revere the forms, but get connected ourselves to the formless. Devotion means loving remembrance of God. Bereft of devotion, life is dry and tasteless. Devotion sweetens life, frees it from the bond of ignorance. Here, Papa reminds us of how he was able to balance this, His Ram was without name and form. So, at the same time, it is not a dry path of knowledge. He finally names it as Parabhakti. He finds his Ram in all forms, not localized in one particular form. At the same time, the devotion is there. So it is a harmonious blend of bhakti and jnana. We can name him as Jnani Bhakta. Not purely a Jnani, not purely a Bhakta, but there is a harmonious combination of jnana and bhakti. So in order that we people who are preoccupied with various commitments, responsibilities, challenges, duties, once in a way when we go to a temple, we are reminded of this, They are the signposts. We go there and get ourselves connected, even if it is for a short time, worth it. Papa reminds us. We go to an ashram, we go to a spiritual institution, we meet the Mahanta there, a God-realized soul, we get connected. That means God provides us every now and then some opportunities for us to get ourselves connected to the indwelling and all-pervading reality through these forms. Indwelling and all-pervading reality is formless, but he is connecting us to that through forms. We will move to this Ajmer. Yes. See now, second line of this chapter. While he was resting in the station along with some sadhus, who also had arrived by the same train, the railway police objected and asked all of them to go out. He sought a place under a tree in front of the station within the compound, but here again the policeman interfered and drove him away. Knocking about for some time, he saw at last a spot under another tree in a far-off corner of the railway compound. As he had nothing to spread on the floor, he lay himself down on the bare ground. When his nose came in close proximity with the ground, he felt the strong smell of urine. You see his reaction? People were passing urine, Oh Ram, how kind you are. You make your humble slave pass through every kind of experience, all for his good. This condition taught him, further still, what a folly it was to make much of this perishable body. And it also tended to make him find his true level, which is indeed very, very low. We suddenly realize how much importance we give to the body. No doubt, body we have to keep it healthy, presentable. It is the platform, it is the house in which the me and mind dwells. It is the platform through which we are made to deliver so many things. We become aware of so many things. At the same time, we should know that whatever it contains, it carries urine, it carries stools, it carries sweat, it carries phlegm. So we should know this. The transient nature of the body.
No.
It has got a date of birth, it has a date of death, that's all. The transient nature of the body. So while keeping up this body, too much pampering, we become totally aware of it. Whatever comes out of our body, we don't take it back. We are unaware of these. Papa reminds us this. One more point is, then he evaluates himself and he finds himself. We know that Papa has realized even at that stage, but he feels it tended greatly to make him find his true level, which is indeed very, very low. To afford him the benefit of experience, O Ram, thou also appeared as the policeman and brought about these circumstances. Here Ramdas, the child of Ram, slept soundly till morning in the loving embrace of that all-powerful being Ram. Because he was able to see, okay, inside is the urine is there, outside also his urine is there, Not that you and I will be able to implement it. But at the same time, we will know the transient nature of the body, what all we carry. So we will not look down upon something, while we ourselves carry so many lessons. So like that, due to paucity of time, we are not going through the entire board. There are about 40. There is a message to all of us. That spirituality taken with the right perspective enables us, empowers us, makes us aware of that principle. So that every time when he makes us to go through different types of experience, he gives us the needed wherewithal, strength, courage to tackle everything, because we know that it is intended by him. It is willed by him. When we keep on bringing this idea, we may fail 100 times, but one time we may succeed. And that 1 can become 2, 2 can become 3, 3 can become 4. This is the wonderful manual he gives through his first book, In Quest of God. Everything is there for us to make our life divine. We first saw, the vision of divinity. Through every such incident. In an article he used to say, when we remember this Swami Narayan temple, in order to bring out that, they have to do the chiseling, Chiseling is painful for it, Puja Swamiji used to say, rubbing and scrubbing is necessary to cleanse. Rubbing and scrubbing is painful. But ultimately what comes out, that is important. So many a time the chiseling is necessary to shape us to become his fit product of God. To become the true product of God, he has to subject us to go through many trying moments. If somewhere in our mind, if we keep that, it will help us a cushioning, to absorb the shock, to handle everything. Morning we were telling, it is something like, the disturbance that happens on you have a pot of water. From that you remove 1 spoon of water. You will not see the dent because the leveling goes instantaneously. So though there is the impact will not be there. So though there will be disturbance at the outer level, the leveling goes immediately, provided God is teaching us through water that it is the base. If we are rooted or in that base, stabilized in that base, the outer disturbance cannot deeply affect us. It will affect us, no doubt, initially. But in the shortest possible time, we will be able to have that balance. This is a wonderful lesson he teaches. Those of you who have got this in quest of God, we would request you to go through it again with this perspective. And at the end of the centenary celebration, our in-depth study for the whole year brought out 192 points, 98 points, from these 37 chapters. And we brought out a small pamphlet called Stress to Serenity. With this perspective, you kindly go through. Yes. And every time when we are pushed to a corner, we will suddenly realize how, if Papa was there, how he would have dealt with it. We draw some strength, courage, inspiration from it. And we will be able to tackle the situation. In other words, we will be able to handle our mind. The whole thing, the naming, labeling that is done by the mind. So if the mind can be tutored, if the mind can be trained, if the mind can be educated to handle every situation with this equanimity, sense of equanimity, samatva, we will be able to lead a peaceful life, prosperous life, successful life, blissful life. Because Papa does not want anyone to lead only a contemplative life. He wants to be dynamic, he always says that. Creative. But at the same time think that you are an instrument in his hands. And you are the creativity given to you or the potentiality given to you is to serve him. So in Papa's approach, there is no divide between spiritual and mundane. Everything is spiritual. All that we have to do is to remember him. So for that he has given us this holy and all-powerful Ramnam. During the non-chanting time, he wants us to bring this dimension in the form of love, in the form of perfection, in the form of dedication, in the form of gratitude. And when the mind has been trained to become passive, receptive, find some time and to go inside and try to feel his presence. These are all the guidelines he has given. He also says, develop a channel of communication with him regularly by talking to him. Not vocally, silently. Because if you do that, somebody may take us and he has gone off the head. Silently we can set apart a time where we talk to him. And in our own language. In our own language we talk to him. Not the borrowed language. Every aspirant, every bhakta talk to the Lord within in their own language. So let us all try to eke out the maximum benefit out of this. And we have been assured by Papa that such a life will ultimately lead to serenity. A serene life, a peaceful life.